So welcome back. Our unit's on an overview of Tamshui, its history and development. Now we are moving to our second section. So we'll continue our discussions about Tamshui, this area. So Paul, do you have anything in mind?
Yeah, I'm just like the last discussion, we seemed to talk somewhat about my impressions and how maybe how I see Tamshui area and the reasons why I talked about it. But I'd like to know more about what you think about the Tamshui area. Questions like why do Taiwanese like to go there? What's interesting that you think of when you think of Tamshui? So can you talk about that a bit maybe through your eyes or Taiwanese eyes about why the Tamshui area is such an interesting place?
So I think we mentioned like we can take MRT or using bicycle going around in Tamshui. Actually, I think if you want to go to Tamshui from Taipei City, there's another way. There's a way called a Taipei River Cruise. So you can actually take a boat right from the central of Taipei City and just ride along with the river. So then you can arrive to Tamshui and going out to the Taiwan Strait.
Oh, that's like that Mississippi boat they have there. It goes along the Tamshui River. They made that one maybe around 2008 or 9 or around that time. Yeah, I know that one. Yeah, actually, it's a boat. Yeah, a little ferry kind of thing with the old style wheel like they used to have in the United States, like the one Mark Twain used to get into. Yeah, I know about that one. Yeah.
So it depends on. I think there are different kinds of ports or piers that you can get on the river cruise.
Right.
So I think that methods going from the center of Taipei City to going to Tamshui and even to see the sea actually reflects the historical background of Tamshui. Because what make the foreigners become interested in Tamshui is to use that as a port. So they can send out like the resources right from Taiwan and to the foreign countries. That's what get people interested in. And actually, when during the Qing dynasty, when lots of the European and even US American, when they declare war against Qing dynasty China, they want China to open more ports so they can have trade with Chinese people or even get the resources from Asia back to Europe or America. So actually in year 1858, during a treaty, we call that Treaty of Tianjin. So the Qing dynasty government actually signed this treaty with Great Britain, France,
that's right.
Russia and United States, and they add another like 11 ports they will open to these foreign businessmen or traders, and one of them is Tamshui.
Okay.
So Tamshui used to be a really big port, and they will use Tamshui River to get different kinds of resources and out into to get into the Taipei City. So for the Taipei City, if you go to the place called Dadaocheng, people imported different kind of resources like from Japan or not, and still the place we will get some dry material that's expensive, or even you want to get like soybeans or different kinds of beans or plants, your dried ones, you go there for the purpose. So if you take the ship and going through the journey, you will see how Taiwanese or other foreign people used to use Tamshui River and to use Tamshui as a port for this kind of business.
Sure.
But that's something like in the past, because as you also mentioned in the main reading, just like during Japanese colonization, just like they built another port, so they will use the port Keelung.
Keelung, yeah.
For international trade.
Yeah.
And also, of course, Keelung is on the east side of Taiwan. So that's facing the Pacific Ocean. And it's making more sense. And for Tamshui River, of course, right, we got lots of settlers or people living in Taipei or the new Taipei city area. So as you say, it's get more sediments. So they cannot use, right, Tamshui River as, right, people.
Would you say Tamshui area maybe had more foreigners live in that area than any other place in Taiwan, say late 1800s to at least the end of World War II, maybe even like 1950s? Would you say that was the most populous area for foreigners to live?
Yes, I think before most of the American army or soldiers, they would use, right, other parts as their air base or other bases. That would be the most, right, popular area for most of the foreigners. And then to interact.
Like I know in Japan, for example, there's a lot of foreigners in Tokyo, but Yokohama area has a lot of foreigners too, because that's where the American Army base is. So I'm thinking, like, would Tamshui be like the equivalent of like Yokohama in Japan, or Okinawa, the place where a lot of foreigners, maybe the place where more foreigners live in an area than, say, any other place in Taiwan?
I would say because before there were airports, people need to take boats, right? Traveling from one area and to another. And Tamshui, we didn't mention the building. We got a building for the customs. So people will visit that place first, right, to pass the customs and to get important or useful information.
That would be the consulates, like the British consulate. The Japanese had a lot of administrative buildings there too. So there's a lot of trading, paperwork, government, administrative things happening in that area. So it's an important area,
So it used to be a really important area, but after the end of World War II, and then the KMT government took over, then they probably would not use Tamshui as a port for this kinds of trading purposes.
Because of the sediments that filled in. And so what would be the biggest difference between, say, pre-1945 and after 1945? Because you had the Japanese leave, you had the Kuomintang come in, you had a lot of changes during that time. So just looking at Tamshui, what would be, say, the one or two biggest changes during that time period?
So I think we also mentioned in the reading, then the purposes of using this area would change. Usually in the past we used that for business purposes. Then during the Japanese period, they probably used that area for more administrative purposes. And for the educational purposes, after Dr. McKay established, some colleges, the Oxford College at that place, and also some high schools. So I think the educational purpose continues. For the other purposes, perhaps we get new seaports, we get airports, so people would not use Tamshui for trade purposes. So if we use the cruise today, that's for travelers, for tourists, but not for business, for trade purposes. So I guess that will be the end of our second discussion in the Tamshui area. So as usual, we will have two questions to ask you. So Paul, would you like to start with a question?
I noticed she said two important things why the Tamshui harbor, Tamshui area, was used for ships and as a port. What were the two important reasons that she mentioned why this harbor, this port, Tamshui, was so important historically?
And also both in our conversation and the reading, we mentioned, there was another new port built, during the Japanese rules of Taiwan. So what's a new port built? during that period of time. So here are 2 questions. See you.